When I graduated from college, my girlfriend and I got married. I moved to her city to work and live together. At first, our life seemed very good. We had a home and a partner who supported each other. However, soon after, we started to argue a lot over small things. It was all about the little things in life, but it made our relationship strained. My girlfriend thought that I was not considerate enough. She felt that I didn't understand her feelings and didn't care about her needs. I, on the other hand, think she is not considerate enough because I came to live and work in her city for her. We would often argue over these issues, but never found a solution. After 2 years, we finally chose to divorce. The relationship was a failure for me. This incident also hit me very hard. I felt very lost and depressed. In order to start over, I decided to go back to my hometown. When I returned home, I felt very depressed. There was nothing I wanted to do and I stayed at home all day. 3 months passed and my mood didn't improve much. I was still living this life without any direction or goal. Later, my father found a job for me in an automobile manufacturing plant. Although this job was not the career I once dreamed of, I decided to give it a try. When I first started working, I felt very uncomfortable. The job was very hard, requiring long hours of standing and operating machines. After the first month of work, I made a serious mistake. When I was operating the machine, I didn't pay attention to a small detail, which caused a problem with the car parts. The leader found out the problem and criticized me. At that time, I felt very embarrassed and sad. I felt like a loser. After work, I was in a very low mood, so I drove alone to the lake. I bought some food and wine on the way, hoping to numb my emotions with alcohol. I parked my car and found a quiet place to sit down. I opened the bottle and started drinking. Soon I had drunk half a bottle of vodka. I felt a little dizzy in my head. I was yelling at the lake, trying to get my emotions to explode. I felt like such a failure in my life. I couldn't control my emotions anymore. I didn't know what I was thinking, I just felt so desperate. I even began to think about suicide, thinking that such a life was not worth continuing. I saw the deep lake and thought I could choose to jump in and end it all. Under the effect of alcohol, I jumped into the lake. At the moment I jumped into the lake, I felt an indescribable feeling. The temperature of the lake was low, which made me instantly sober. I began to struggle to swim back to the shore, but my whole body had no more strength to struggle. As I slowly sank to the bottom of the water, a bright light appeared behind me. This light was so warm. As the light got closer to me, I saw a life form inside. I knew it was an angel. The light from him reassured me, and he spoke to me in a soft voice, telling me that he was here to help me. I felt my body being gently wrapped around me. As I entered that light, I felt an indescribable sense of peace and warmth. This feeling was like nothing I had ever experienced before. I knew my body in the water was dead, but that no longer seemed to matter. Next, we appeared in a dark tunnel. The tunnel was so deep that we were descending as fast as if we were in free fall. The size of the tunnel was getting bigger and bigger. As we descended, I began to hear some terrible screams. These screams were so horrible that they filled my heart with unease and fear. I began to imagine countless souls moaning in pain in this tunnel, and the screams seemed to be warning me. A huge crater suddenly cracked in the tunnel. The view inside the tunnel became more eerie and frightening. My eyes couldn't stand the searing heat. I could hear countless screams all around me, making my eardrums about to explode. In this sea of fire, I saw countless people trapped in it, screaming non-stop. Their skin was melting. In front of me, those black shadowy creatures crept closer to me. Their appearance disgusting and terrifying. Their eyes seemed to penetrate my soul. Their arms were covered with a thick layer of black scales, and their teeth were long and sharp. It was as if they were waiting for an opportunity to attack me. There was an unpleasant smell emanating from the place. It was full of stench and decay and made me want to vomit. The angel reassured me that you came here only as a witness to hell. As long as I am with you, no harm will come to you. I was still a little afraid that the angel would let go of my hand and leave me to face these horrible creatures on my own. I pleaded with the angel to take me out of that place, and we began to move upward quickly. We quickly returned to the light, and that peace and tranquility enveloped me once again. The angel told me, hell is one of the possible paths you can choose. Now I will show you another path that you can choose to take towards the light, to establish a deeper connection with God, and to pursue a more meaningful life. Next, the angel held my hand again and we came to the gates of heaven. I saw the gate shining with a golden light. The angel told me that only those who meet the requirements can enter heaven and asked me to try. I had just gotten close to the gate when I felt a strong force push me back. Although I couldn't see anything, something must have been preventing me from entering. Puzzled, I asked the angel, if I can't enter, why are we here? The angel told me that your soul still needs to experience some growth before you can enter heaven. You still have a lot to learn right now. At this time, I saw a group of people coming toward me. I was very excited because I recognized several of them, including my great-grandfather and great-grandmother. They were holding hands and looked younger and healthier than I remembered. They had happy smiles on their faces. As they drew closer, I noticed that one of my uncles was also beside them. As they stood in front of me, I felt a love like no other. They both extended their hands to me and I was enveloped in their embrace. They welcomed me with open arms. We had a short but warm conversation. In a soft voice, my great-grandmother told me that she had met Jesus upon entering heaven. He had guided her into this wonderful place. She also told me that everything is perfect here, everyone is very friendly, there is no quarrel or malice, only love and peace. Her words made me feel a joy that I had never felt before. This joy was not from outside, but from inner peace and happiness. I believed everything she said, because I could feel this joy outside the door, and I could imagine their lives inside. Finally, the angel said to me, "You must leave this place now." I said goodbye to my family and felt the loss in my heart. We were back in the light again. The angel told me that my fate was up to me and that everyone has the right to choose their own life. I asked the angel, what should I do next? What should I choose? The angel replied, you can choose to be a good person, or you can choose to follow another path. I asked curiously, what is the other path? It was a dark road that led to hell. The angel's words gave me a great revelation. The angel told me to live a good life and that he would always watch over me. Then the angel disappeared into the light. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying by the lake. I was confused and wondered how I had gotten to shore. I sat up and found that my clothes were soaked through. I remembered the angel. Could this have really happened? I decided to call my father first. I didn't want him to worry. I told him that I would not be coming home tonight. I knew that I was not in the right state to drive home. I adjusted my seat and prepared to sleep in the car for the night. The next morning, a warm sun shone on my face. After hearing the birds chirping, I realized I was alive and I felt like everything around me was brand new. I pushed open the car door and walked toward the lake. As I walked to the lake, I realized how beautiful and peaceful my surroundings were. The sun was shining on the lake, emitting a golden glow. The surrounding meadow had some wild flowers in bright and beautiful colors. It was a perfect morning. I took a deep breath of the fresh air and felt very happy. I sat by the lake, closed my eyes, and felt the beauty of the morning. This experience made me deeply realize the preciousness of life. I decided to cherish my life more and pursue the life I want more diligently. I thought of the mysterious angel, and I was very grateful to him. I stood up and went back to the car. My mood became more cheerful and positive. I thought about how I was going to change my life to make it more fulfilling and meaningful. It was a new beginning. It was also a new challenge. It's been 12 years since this event. It is still very clear in my memory. I vividly remember every detail and every conversation. The experience of that night was a turning point in my life. It made me re-examine my way of life and the meaning of life. After that experience, I decided to stop drinking because I realized that alcohol didn't bring me anything meaningful. 5 years ago, I met my current wife. I still remember clearly the scene when I first met her. I was praying in church when I suddenly felt someone appear beside me. I looked up and saw a beautiful lady with a warm glow in her eyes. We smiled at each other. After the prayer, we started talking. We had both experienced divorce. We began to talk about each other's experiences and our views on life. In that moment, I felt a special connection between us. We exchanged contact information and started our dating. We understood and supported each other, and we built a wonderful family together. Now we have an adorable son who is the most precious gift in our lives. We create wonderful memories together and face the challenges and difficulties in our lives together. I am grateful for everything I have experienced because they have made me the person I am today. I hope that the next time I go to heaven, I will be allowed to enter that gate.
"15 years ago, I experienced something that I will never forget. Every time I recall this experience, it is so real. There was a time when I doubted whether God was real. After experiencing this event, I changed my mind. In heaven, I saw God. I also saw my mother, who gave me great comfort and warmth. I felt God's and my mother's love, and the feeling was so strong. All of this made me a better person. At that time, I dated a boyfriend. From the first time I saw him, I knew he was the one for me. I loved his tenderness and romance, which made me feel so happy and content. Because of work, we hadn't seen each other for half a month. When he called to tell me he would be back today, I felt very happy. I planned to drive to pick him up. I imagined the moment of our reunion and my heart was filled with excitement and anticipation. I went home, changed my clothes, and got ready to pick up my boyfriend. I called him to tell him I was on my way. I was driving down the road while listening to music. Suddenly, I saw a car in front of me changing lanes frequently. I subconsciously slammed on my brakes. Because I was going so fast, I hit the vehicle coming from the opposite direction. I felt like I was in a washing machine and was spinning like crazy. Next, my memory became blurry. It seemed like someone was yelling and someone else was slapping me. I also heard the sound of police cars and ambulances. I was really scared and afraid that I would lose my family. Suddenly, I appeared in a black void. I couldn't see anything and I couldn't hear anything. This scared me a lot because I didn't know where this was or how long it would last. I started moving around trying to find an exit. I groped around in the darkness, not finding any way out. I felt increasingly desperate, and I began to suspect that this was just a dream. I gave up my search and stayed quietly where I was. I thought this dream would go away after a while, but it didn't. It felt so real here. I began to cry. My heart became heavier, and I wondered how long I would have to stay here. I didn't know how long had passed, and I started to miss my family. Finally, with grief and panic, I cried out to God for help. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of me. A warmth surrounded me, and it was as if I was in a whole new world. The figure of a woman appeared before me, wearing a white robe and hair as bright as golden sunlight. As she approached me, I realized that she was my deceased mother. For as long as I can remember, my mother and I have always been estranged from each other, and her suicide has always been something I could not let go of. But in this moment, I felt her love for me, and it was an unconditional love. She hugged me gently and told me she was always there for me, always watching over me. I was so surprised when I saw her here. Although I was not a Christian at that time, I knew that if you kill yourself, you will be left in hell. I was very surprised by her answer. She told me that God gives every soul a chance to go to heaven, even if the person is a sinner. Those who are in hell also get one chance to enter heaven. Now I know that my mother was given this opportunity. My mother told me that God is here for us and that He will accept us no matter who we are. Everyone on earth makes mistakes, but that doesn't mean they can't be loved by God. Curiously, I asked my mother what hell was like. She replied, "It is an indescribable pain and fear. There, every hurtful word spoken and every sinful act is magnified thousands of times. You will be trapped in endless darkness and loneliness." Suddenly, a darkness appeared before my eyes. I realized I had come to hell. I saw souls who were suffering. I had made many irresponsible statements that hurt the feelings of many people and may have even affected their lives. After my mother committed suicide, I cursed my mother constantly. I swore I would never forgive her, and I hope she burns in hell forever. I experienced the loneliness of having no faith. A world without anything. When I saw the things I had done, my sins were mercilessly magnified here. My mind is no longer clear, and my soul is consumed with pain and grief. There is no warmth or comfort in this place, only eternal pain and loneliness. I regret my actions so much and long for forgiveness. Immediately after I left hell, my mother embraced me. She reassured me that everything would be all right. I asked my mother, "Why did you choose to leave us?" She looked at me, with tears in her eyes, and apologized to me. She explained, she had been experiencing pain, but she didn't know how to get rid of it. Seeing my mother crying, I knew it was time to forgive her. After hearing her apology, my hatred for her disappeared. I whispered, "I forgive you." When I finished saying this, I appeared in a beautiful place. I saw flowers of all colors. The warm breeze blew against my cheeks and made me feel incredibly comfortable. I smelled the fragrance of flowers and the fresh air. There was a tall crystal castle in the distance, which was enveloped in a dazzling light. I asked myself in my mind, "Is this heaven?" Around the castle, there were many people strolling around, and they looked very happy and content. Their expressions were all full of joy, and their interactions with each other were full of friendliness. Everything here is so harmonious. My soul was healed and purified in this place. It was so beautiful and peaceful, and it made me feel truly happy and content. Suddenly, I heard someone call my name behind me. I turned around and saw a man. As he approached me, I noticed that his hair was curly brown and very distinctive. He was wearing a long white robe with a golden pattern on it. I knew that he was Jesus. He looked at me with a smile. I felt his love, and the feeling was so strong. He told me that he was always there for me. Hearing these words, I began to understand that his love was real. Jesus also told me that this place is heaven. Here, there is no pain or suffering, only eternal happiness. Jesus reminded me that even though this is my home, I cannot stay here now. I must return to earth to fulfill my mission. He told me not to worry because he had everything planned for me. Then, he showed me a beautiful scene. I saw myself wearing a beautiful white wedding dress with a happy smile on my face. I was holding hands with a man and walking down the aisle together, surrounded by the blessings of family and friends. I felt my happiness and contentment, and it seemed like the whole world was cheering for me. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good look at the man's face. I'm not sure if it was my current boyfriend. Then the scene came back to a hospital where I was lying in a hospital bed. A female nurse placed a baby into my arms. I held her tightly and felt her softness. She had an innocent smile on her face, long eyelashes, and tiny pink hands. Jesus told me that this little angel was his gift to me and that she would bring me endless love and happiness. Then the scene shifted again to a beautiful park. I saw myself running with a girl. We both had smiles on our faces. We felt freedom and joy. I knew that these were the happy lives Jesus had planned for me. I was full of hope and confidence in my future. Jesus told me, "We will meet again." I knew I had to leave here and return to earth. I said goodbye to Jesus, and he gently held my hand. He told me that he would always be by my side, protecting and guiding me to true happiness. Before I left, I wanted to enjoy the beauty of heaven again. The endless meadow and the garden with flowers in full bloom could not be seen. The birds in the trees were singing. I feel endless peace and tranquility. I knew that this feeling would always be with me when I faced challenges, giving me strength and courage. As I left heaven, a powerful force lifted me away from this wonderful scene. Although I am no longer in heaven, I will never forget what I experienced there. When I woke up from my coma, my head still felt like it had some pain in it. I tried to sit up, but my body was very weak. I noticed that I was in a white room, surrounded by medical equipment and monitors. I felt someone holding my hand, and I turned my head to see my boyfriend. His eyes were full of concern and worry. I asked him what had happened, and he told me I had been in a coma for a week. I had been seriously injured in a car accident and needed surgery. He also told me that the surgery was very successful and that I was now recovering. My heart was a little heavy, and I couldn't believe I had been in a coma for a week. My boyfriend assured me that he would always be there for me and help me recover as soon as possible. I felt so warm inside, and I knew I was not alone. He told me all about what the doctors and nurses had done for me. He told me that when I was admitted to the operating room, he felt so worried and upset. He had been waiting to hear from the doctors and wanted to hear good news. I felt so relieved and I expressed my gratitude to my boyfriend. I am so lucky to have someone like him by my side. He has given me a lot of strength and courage. Also, I am very thankful to God that He has brought me back to my family. When I was with my boyfriend, I didn't believe in the existence of God, and I didn't even have much interest in religion or faith. However, when I went through this, my faith began to change. I realized that life is so fragile and needs some kind of higher power to protect and guide it. I felt a wonderful connection with God in my life. He gave me the strength and hope to move on with my life. My boyfriend and I went through many setbacks and difficulties together, but we never lost our faith and hope. We got married in a church. Our married life was full of happiness and blessings, and God brought us endless grace and blessings. We soon welcomed our first child, a beautiful girl. This made me feel very happy and content because I now had my own family and the love of my life. Every time I see my daughter playing happily in the sunshine, I know it is God's blessing and grace to me. My faith has enabled me to see the true meaning of life and made me more grateful and in awe of God's existence. I believe that God has always protected me and my family so that we can live a happier and more fulfilling life in this world.